What if your emotions aren't truly yours? What if what you feel isn't an accurate reflection of the world, but a distorted echo from a mind that never learned to be still? We've been taught to trust our feelings, to treat them as truths. But the ancient philosophers knew better. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." This wasn't indifference, it was mastery, the ability to feel without being ruled, to observe emotion without letting it consume. Today we chase calm, we want to feel better. But Aurelius, sitting alone in his tent while war raged outside, found a deeper truth. You don't need peace around you to have peace within you. So the question isn't, how do I stop feeling? It's, how do I stop being owned by what I feel? This is a journey of internal alchemy, a confrontation with illusion, and the uncovering of something far more powerful than momentary peace, emotional resilience, born from awareness. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire on the edge of collapse. He faced betrayal, loss, and plague, not in metaphor but in blood and ash. Yet his journal, what we now call meditations, was a whisper to himself, a call to remain unmoved by chaos. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Aurelius wasn't preaching detachment from life. He was pointing toward a deeper attachment, to virtue, to presence, to internal stillness. He understood that the real war was never in the streets of Rome. It was within the self. He believed that events don't harm us. Our interpretation of them does. A harsh word is just a sound. A failure is just a result. But our mind turns these moments into wounds. Our mind attaches stories, fear, identity. And so the Stoics trained themselves to become fortresses, not cold or lifeless, but centered. They practiced the art of stepping back from reaction, of holding space between stimulus and response. And this is the birthplace of resilience. Not in becoming numb, but in becoming conscious. We often imagine mindfulness as a soft breeze, a candlelit retreat, a silent breath in the morning sun. But that is not its origin. Mindfulness is not calm, it is confrontation, a fierce presence that says, "I will not run from what I feel, I will not hide behind thought, I will face this moment naked and whole." The Buddhists speak of bare attention, a state where you observe without judgment, without distortion. The Stoics speak of apatheia, freedom from passion, not by suppression, but by observation. These aren't practices of escape, they are practices of war, not against others, but against illusion. Your anger, it might be a mask for fear, your sorrow, a story you're replaying to avoid letting go. Mindfulness peels back these layers. It reveals, it cuts. It teaches you to sit in the eye of the storm and realize that you are not the storm. You are the one watching it pass. And this watcher, this awareness more cannot be broken. Here is the hidden truth. Most of your suffering comes not from what happens to you, but from your refusal to let it happen. We want life to obey. We want people to act how we expect. We want outcomes we can script and endings we can approve. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. A breakup doesn't destroy you. Your belief that you're now unworthy, that's what hurts. A job loss isn't the end. But you're clinging to status, to control, to identity. That's what turns pain into torment. Resilience is the art of surrender. Not passive surrender, but conscious release. You realize, I cannot control the storm, but I can choose how I meet it. And in that moment, control dissolves, and true power begins. So how do we train this resilience? Not by resisting feeling, not by building walls, but by awakening the observer. That quiet presence inside you, the one who sees without reacting. This is not some mystical fantasy. This is a practice as old as breath. When you feel anger rising, pause. Observe it. Don't Analyze, don't fix, just witness. When sorrow wraps around you, sit with it, let it speak, let it move. And notice, you are still here. You are not the feeling. You are the field in which it happens. This awareness is your fortress, and it is built not in one day, but every moment you choose presence over reactivity. Aurelius would journal his thoughts every night, not to control them, but to see them, to cleanse perception. Mindfulness, then, is not a retreat. It is a discipline, a sacred inner standing, and through it, we stop being owned by emotion and start becoming its master. Here is the alchemy, the great transformation. What if your pain is not punishment? What if it's a teacher in disguise? Aurelius never wished away hardship, he used it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Pain is not the end, it is the portal. When you stop avoiding sorrow, you see its root. When you face your fear, you see its source. And once seen, truly seen, it begins to dissolve. Because the light of awareness burns through illusion. This is emotional alchemy, turning agony into insight, fear into clarity, wounds into wisdom. The hurt you carry is not your enemy. It is your initiation into depth, into truth, into a life where nothing needs to be escaped, because everything can be understood now. Here's the paradox. Real strength is softness, true power is surrender. We've been taught to harden, to armor up, to silence the tremble. But the Stoics and mystics alike discovered something deeper. That which bends does not break. That which feels truly lives. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it is access. It's a doorway to truth, to compassion, to connection. Emotional resilience isn't about never falling. It's about falling with awareness, feeling everything, without becoming it, and rising again and again, not with tighter fists, but with open hands. So now we return to the beginning. Are your emotions truly yours, or are they waves upon the ocean of your awareness, temporary, wild, but never permanent? Mindfulness doesn't erase the storm. It teaches you that you are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. Aurelius knew this. When he looked within, he found a fortress, not built of stone, but built of silence, presence, and perception. Let the world rage. Let change arrive. Let pain visit. Because now you know, you are not what happens to you. You are the one who watches. And in that watcher is a strength no storm can touch. What if the very emotions you spend your life avoiding were your greatest teachers? We live in an age addicted to control. We medicate sadness, suppress anger, and chase happiness like a drug. The cultural command is clear. Stay positive, stay productive, stay composed. But beneath that polished exterior, something trembles. What if your anxiety wasn't a malfunction, but a messenger? What if your grief wasn't a burden, but a bridge? And what if true strength wasn't about pushing emotion away, but meeting it with open eyes? Welcome to the hidden path of emotional resilience, not the glossy version sold in corporate wellness brochures, but the raw, ancient art of being undisturbed in the center of the storm. This is not about escaping your pain, it's about transmuting it, alchemizing it. And in this journey we walk with a silent guide, a man who ruled the known world, yet waged a far greater war within himself. Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, a philosopher, a mystic in armor. He once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is not just philosophy. This is survival. This is presence. This is freedom." Imagine waking each day as the most powerful man on earth, yet beginning your morning with a journal entry about death, humility, and suffering. This was Marcus Aurelius. While emperors before him obsessed over legacy, conquest, and pleasure, Aurelius turned inward. He kept a private record of his thoughts, never meant for anyone else to read. These notes, later titled Meditations, would become one of the most profound works of introspective wisdom ever written. But Aurelius wasn't preaching calm detachment. He wasn't hiding from emotion. He was staring directly into it, into grief, betrayal, fear, exhaustion, and asking, how do I remain unmoved? His answer, the inner citadel. To the Stoics, emotional resilience was not a personality trait. It was a fortress, not made of stone but of insight, perspective, mastery of one's reactions. You do not control the world, Aurelius reminds us, but you can control how the world passes through you. He trained himself to view insult as noise, praise as a shadow, and pain as passing weather, not because he lacked feeling, but because he had learned to hold his inner ground. In a time of political chaos and personal tragedy, he practiced radical presence. Emotions came. He let them, and he remained. Centuries before the word mindfulness became a trend, monks in Himalayan caves and seekers in silent forests were cultivating it as a sacred discipline. To be mindful is not to be calm, it is to be here, undivided, awake within the chaos. Where Stoicism teaches us to hold the citadel, Eastern traditions invite us to sit in the fire. In Buddhism, emotions are not enemies but impermanent waves, rising and falling across the ocean of consciousness. The observer self, the one who witnesses, is not moved by the waves. It simply watches. This is where East meets West, where Aurelius and the Buddha nod in silent agreement. You do not need to escape the storm. You simply need to stop becoming it. They say strength is unshakable, but why then? Do the strongest people often fall apart in silence? We admire the ones who never flinch, never cry, never show weakness. But perhaps we've misunderstood what true strength really is. Perhaps it isn't found in the clenched jaw or the stiff upper lip, but in the quiet ability to bend without breaking. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plague, war, and betrayal, and yet his strength didn't come from force, it came from presence. He wrote not of conquering others, but of mastering the self. See, the paradox of strength is this. The more you resist your emotions, the more control they have over you. But the moment you allow them to move through you, without judgment, without grasping, you become unbreakable, not by denying pain, but by meeting it with awareness. Resilience isn't armor. It's not built through suppression, but through surrender, through knowing what's yours to carry and what must pass. So ask yourself, is your strength a mask or a mirror? Long before the word mindfulness became a buzzword, it was a silent flame burning in the minds of ancient philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, men who walked through chaos with stillness in their hearts. Men who knew that the mind, left unattended, becomes a prison. They called it logos, the inner reason, the divine spark, a principle not of belief, but of awareness. The Stoics didn't avoid emotion. They studied it, watched it, questioned it. Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Across the world, in another temple of thought, Buddhists practice the same thing under a different name. Vipassana, insight. Two civilizations, oceans apart, both pointing to the same truth, that suffering arises not from what happens, but from how we react to what happens, and that freedom isn't found in changing the world, but in changing the lens through which we see it. Mindfulness isn't modern, it's eternal, and those who practiced it didn't just survive chaos, they transcended it. What if your emotions aren't random? What if they're running on scripts written long ago by fear, by trauma, by childhood ghosts? The brain, left unchecked, becomes a factory of illusions. It interprets, distorts, reacts, all, before you're even aware. A word, a look, a silence. Suddenly, you're spiraling. But who's pulling the strings? Neuroscience now confirms what the ancients intuited. that emotional reactions often arise from unconscious beliefs. You feel abandoned, not because someone left, but because, long ago, you internalized the idea that love is conditional. You feel anger, not because of the moment, but because you were never allowed to express it safely as a child. Marcus Aurelius warned us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Mindfulness invites you to step outside the storm, to see your thoughts not as truths but as weather patterns passing, changing, not you. And in that moment of witnessing, the script breaks. You are no longer the puppet. You become the watcher. And from that place, you reclaim your power. In a world that worships noise, stillness is an act of rebellion, but it's also a return to what the Stoics called ataraxia, inner tranquility untouched by external chaos. This isn't about escaping, it's about meeting life fully and refusing to flinch. Mindfulness teaches us to breathe, not to fix, to notice, not to analyze, to return, again and again, to the now. Because the present moment is the only place suffering ends. Aurelius didn't write meditations in peace. He wrote them on the battlefield, during plague, during betrayal, and still, he returned to this truth, that within you is a citadel no war can breach. Mindfulness is the path to that citadel, through breath, through presence, through radical self-observation. Real resilience isn't found in force. It's found in the one who can sit with pain and not become it. That is stillness, and that is strength. We were taught that control is power, but the Stoics and the mystics discovered a deeper paradox. The more you seek to control life, the more it controls you, the more you resist your emotions, the more they dominate your inner world. Marcus Aurelius let go of control over external chaos because he knew that peace could only be found within, and mindfulness teaches the same. You don't need to suppress. You need to see the fear, see the rage, see the craving, but don't become them. This is the surrender, letting the emotion rise and fall, without attaching. This is where real control begins, not in domination, but in detachment. To let go is not to give up. It's to step into the eye of the storm and realize you are not the storm. You are the sky. Strip away the anger, the fear, the grief, the pride. What remains? Who are you? Beneath the stories, the scars, the roles. This is where mindfulness and philosophy merge into something timeless. The Stoics believed you are a fragment of the divine reason. The Buddhists call it pure awareness. The mystics call it the soul. And all of them point to one truth. You are not your emotions. You are the one watching them. This realization is not an ending, it's a door to a new way of living, of responding, not reacting, of witnessing, not drowning, to look in the mirror of awareness, and finally ask, if I am not my pain, if I am not my thoughts, then what or who am I? And perhaps in that silence you will find an answer not in words, but in stillness. What if your suffering isn't caused by the world, but by how you meet it? Not the economy, not your job, not your family, not the chaos swirling outside, but something much quieter, much closer. There's a hidden place inside you, a space between what happens and how you respond, and in that space is freedom. Marcus Aurelius ruled over one of the most chaotic empires in history. He faced war, famine, betrayal, and the slow, painful death of those he loved. Yet his writings remain some of the calmest ever recorded, full of presence, full of peace. How? Because he discovered something most of us miss. The power to choose stillness, the power to cultivate resilience, not by escaping pain, but by transforming the way we hold it. This is not about being detached. This is not about numbing yourself. This is about stepping into something ancient, something sacred. Mindfulness, not as a trend, but as a weapon, as a way of living. Let's begin. Marcus Aurelius was not born into peace. He ruled through disaster. He watched his people die of plague. He buried children. He was betrayed by allies. And yet, in the quiet of his personal journal, he wrote words like, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This man was not passive. He was powerful, but his power came from presence. He practiced what today we call mindfulness, long before the term existed. When faced with hardship, he didn't resist it. He observed it. He studied it. He reminded himself daily that the only thing he could truly control was his own mind. No reaction was automatic. No emotion was final. He trained himself to pause, to breathe, to see. In that space between stimulus and response, he built something unshakable. This wasn't a philosopher in a cave. This was a Roman emperor, facing death, betrayal, and loss, and choosing clarity anyway. He showed us mindfulness isn't just for monks, it's for warriors. Look around. So much of your suffering comes not from what is, but from the belief that it shouldn't be. You feel pain because you're gripping the illusion that life was supposed to go a different way. But who promised that? Who told you things had to unfold according to your expectations? Here lies the core truth Aurelius kept returning to. You have power over your mind, not outside events. It sounds simple, but it changes everything. You can't stop the rain. You can't unsay the words someone threw at you. You can't reverse the loss, but you can choose how you carry it. The mind wants control. It clings, it resists, and in that resistance it breaks. Mindfulness is the art of loosening the grip, not giving up, but giving in to what is fully, fearlessly. It's noticing the tension before it snaps you. It's sitting in the discomfort without trying to fix it, because the pain isn't in the thing itself, it's in the war you fight against it. And when you stop fighting, you begin to heal. We train our bodies, we train our careers, but we neglect the one thing we use in every moment, our mind. To Marcus Aurelius, every day was training. Every hardship was a rep. Every insult, every loss, every frustration, a sharpening of the sword. He journaled, he reflected, he reminded himself this too is a test. This too is fuel. And this is where mindfulness becomes more than calmness. It becomes strategy. You are not weak for feeling fear. You are not broken for feeling overwhelmed, but you are undisciplined if you let those emotions control you. This world will throw storms at you, that's guaranteed, but mindfulness, the daily act of becoming aware, of choosing presence over panic, that's your armor. It's what allows a warrior to breathe in the chaos and not flinch. It's not meditation in a cave, it's mindfulness in motion, in traffic, in heartbreak, in disappointment. It's the difference between reacting automatically and responding consciously. Train it like you would train your body, because one day you'll need that strength.